Okay, the recording is on. Waiting room has been disabled. The co-host has been created. Annotations, let me turn these annotations off. Okay, that seems fine. And we have participants mic disabled, right? My video is pinned. Okay. Okay, so some ground rules before we start. The timing for this workshop is about 45 minutes to 1 hour. So we will end around 4:30 to 4:45, inshallah. I would recommend that all participants keep their mobile phones on silent. And if you're watching this workshop from a computer, try to stay away from your mobile phone. Try to stay away from keeping busy. If the participants here would like to leave this workshop with some benefit, then I would recommend you also take notes because some of these things can benefit you in the long term. As for questions, anybody can ask questions in the chat during the workshop. If anyone would like to use the mic, then that opportunity will be given after 45 minutes. When we reach the end of the workshop, in the question and answer session, you can use the mic, but not during the workshop. During the workshop, you can only use the chat to answer questions. A short introduction about me. My name is Muhammad Abdul. I'm a certified Mars Venus life coach and also an associate coach with Mumkin. Some special things about me is that Alhamdulillah, I can speak three languages fluently. I can speak Alhamdulillah English, Urdu, and Arabic. The objectives of the workshop here are to first of all discover what time management is and the importance of managing time and the dangers of mismanaging time. The second objective is to learn how to never be late, discover what buffers are and how to use them, start measuring time correctly. The third is to guard your commitments, use notebooks to note down information, and use calendars to set appointments. Now let's start this workshop with a story. This story was related to me by one of the Mumkin coaches. He was telling me that one day he went to one of his friends to borrow some money, and he agreed with this friend to return the money on the 25th of the following month. When this coach agreed with his friend to return the money on the 25th of the next month, he did not write this commitment down. And he left. He went back home, thinking that he would remember the date to return this money. Now, when the next month came, he had forgotten what date to return the money, and he had assumed himself that it was the 26th of the following month. So this coach, he went to his friend on the 26th of the following month, and he gave him back his the money, and he said that Alhamdulillah, I have fulfilled my commitment with you. So the friend said, thank you for returning the money to me, but if you remember correctly, you promised me on the 25th of this month. So the coach was telling me that he felt very embarrassed because he had not written this information down, and because of this lack of organization, he had lost someone's trust. So in this workshop, we will talk about how you can improve your trust and improve your credibility by noting things down and taking care of your tasks. Let's go into the introduction of time management. What do you people think time management means? I would like to know what your definition is of time management, and I'll give you 2 minutes to mention in the chat what your definition of time management is. Utilizing time correctly and efficiently. Abdullah said that. Thank you, Abdullah. The ability to use time in a good way. Yes, that's correct. Ability to manage important tasks on time. All right, that's a good answer. Let's see what other answers you guys come up with. Using time productively and efficiently. Yes, that's good. Thank you, Sister Manal. Best use of time to produce a desired result. Right. That's also a very good answer. All right. Thank you for your inputs. Now we will go on to a good definition of time management that I felt is the most relevant to me. So there are various definitions of time management. The answers that you had given were correct. For example, ability to manage important tasks on time, best use of time to make it productive and efficient. That's correct. The most relevant definition I found, the most useful to me, was this one: the ability to prioritize our day according to a sound vision, and then to accomplish these prioritizations through determination. This definition I learned from the Time Lenders workshop called Strategic Time Management, and many of the content used in this workshop has been taken from that time management workshop that is conducted by Time Lenders. So I found that workshop very useful and life changing, and I took some of the content from it with their permission so that I could present it to you. So the ability to prioritize our day according to a sound vision, meaning according to a correct picture of the future that you have in mind. So while keeping the future in mind, you prioritize your day according to the important tasks you have. Okay. So why do we need to manage our time? Let's look at the first reason why we need to manage our time, and we will use a comparison of two imaginary people. We will call one person Ahmed and we will call him Ibrahim. Ahmed is a punctual person. Ahmed always arrives on time. If he says that the meeting will start at 3:45, the meeting starts at 3:45, not before 3:45, not after 3:45. His colleagues always expect him to arrive on time. He meets the expectations of every person that he makes a promise with. He takes care to never break his commitments. The best thing is that Ahmed, even in informal occasions such as parties, such as marriages, he's on time. Even if it's not an informal setting, he's on time. And Ahmed manages to make all of his colleagues and all of his family happy by taking care of these appointments. Now Ibrahim, on the other hand, is exactly the opposite to Ahmed. If Ibrahim gives you an appointment for 2 o'clock, what he means is any time between 2 and 3 o'clock. Ibrahim believes that being late is a part of life that we cannot avoid. He believes that people should excuse him for being late, and that if he is late, the other party should understand that and prepare for that. Ibrahim is constantly late to meetings, to parties. His family is tired of him because he would promise them to go shopping, but then he would not. He would promise them to take them outside, but he would be late for that. And he makes people disappointed. So, what qualities come to your mind when you think of Ahmed and Ibrahim? I would like to hear from you. Let's start with Ahmed first. So, we're talking about Ahmed here. Okay. Okay. And I will fill out this chart with you. Okay. So you said trust. Trust, values, commitment, organized. Good. I like you guys' answers. Integrity. Very nice. Reliable. Reliable. That's correct. Accountability. Always on time. Yeah. All right. These are some nice inputs. I like your guys' participation. All right. So, what qualities come to your mind when you think of Ibrahim, the person who's always late? What qualities come to your mind? Unreliable. disorganized, tardiness, irresponsible, lazy, careless. Someone said Ibrahim is from Pakistan. Not necessarily. Even there are many people in Pakistan who are very valuable of their time and they manage their time correctly. Okay, so you participants can see right now. Let me just get back to the presentation. So you participants can see how the effective time management of Ahmed has got him this great self-image and credibility, and you can see how Ibrahim's tardiness and his Ibrahim's bad time management has gotten him this kind of reputation. You can clearly see that poor time management has created a bad reputation for Ibrahim. Now, the qualities we have mentioned of Ibrahim being careless, lazy, and irresponsible, he might not be irresponsible all the time. He might not be lazy all the time. In fact, he might be trying very hard to be active and to be on time. But because of his bad time management, he is creating such a reputation about him that people assume bad qualities about him, even if it's not true. All right. So let's get into the second part of why we need to manage our time. These are some other reasons. First of all, is religious emphasis on keeping promises. Islam has told us to value our promises. Islam has told us that breaking your promises on a consistent basis is one of the qualities of the hypocrites. So that's the Islamic part of it. We are also the second reason here is to be able to balance different roles of your life. Now, in your life, you have many roles, you have many responsibilities. You have the responsibility of being, for example, being a father, being a husband, being a son. You have the responsibility of being a student, of being a teacher, of being an employee. Now, you have different parts or different people who have rights upon you. For example, your family has the right upon you to, take care of them, to take them out, to provide for them, and your boss has the right to give him the assignments on time, keep him updated to projects. Now, if you want to be able to balance these roles in your life, you have to allocate the necessary time that each role needs. If bad time management comes in, these roles become very imbalanced. You might be giving your job too much time and your family might be suffering, or you might be giving your family too much time but you not be able to keep up with your job. So it's important to keep a balance. The third part is keeping stress low. Obviously, if you are giving too much time to one thing and not giving enough time for yourself to relax, stress levels get high and your life gets tough. And the fourth is increasing the quality of your work. When you focus a certain time and dedicate it to your job or your presentation or your project, the quality of that increases dramatically. Let's get into part two, the art of never being late. This includes a few techniques. Technique number one, estimating time accurately. Now, we will take an example of an imaginary person here called Khalid. This is Khalid. Khalid needs to catch a flight today at 5:30 p.m. Now, Khalid is also bad at managing time. He thinks he only needs to leave the house 2 hours before the flight. Now, let's compare Khalid to a person. For example, let's call him Ahmed, who has, or let's look at Khalid's theory that he can catch his flight in 2 hours, and let's see if it's accurate or not. And let's see what mistake Khalid has made. Okay, so the mistake Khalid has made is he's measuring time inaccurately, or he's estimating time inaccurately. The human mind is not very good at estimating times for large tasks. This estimation can be improved greatly by dividing the task into smaller parts. For example, if this task is traveling somewhere, what smaller tasks will be involved in that? Let me tell you. For example, if you want to go to the flight to the airport, if you have a flight, smaller tasks will be such as putting your baggage in the car, driving to the airport, finding a parking space for your car, checking in, finding the waiting lounge. For example, if you have a school project, what tasks come in this school project? Writing the introduction for your project, researching from different websites and books for your project, sending an email to your professor, for example. And tasks such as this, big tasks, can be divided into smaller parts, which give us a better representation of the time. How do we measure time correctly, or how do we estimate time correctly? First of all, we figure out the steps that an activity takes. For example, catching a flight takes the steps that I told you, packing the luggage, driving to the airport, finding a parking space, finding the waiting lounge, etc. Individually calculate the time for each step, meaning individually estimate the time for each step. For example, the drive to the airport will take 45 minutes, finding a parking space will take 5 minutes, finding the waiting lounge might take 10 minutes. Then you add up the times to see what the total is. The more complex the activity is, the more steps you should divide the task into. For example, let's look at Khalid's flight that takes off at 5:30 p.m. So over here, we have the task or the deadline, which is the flight taking off at 5:30. Now, let's go backwards to the time when Khalid starts packing, and let's see how much time it actually takes. Okay, so just before the flight, the task we will be busy in. We'll be checking in at the airport and passing through the immigration, checking our luggage and finding the waiting lounge. That might take 2 hours. Let's keep on adding tasks until we reach the beginning of this process. Okay. Before checking in, we will have to travel to the airport, which takes half an hour. Before traveling to the airport with our car, we will have to load the luggage into the car. And we keep on adding tasks until we reach the beginning of the process. So before loading the luggage into the car, we want to shower and get ready. Before that, we want to put our clothes in the bag and finish packing it up. And now we can see that the total time Khalid would actually need is about 3 hours and 20 minutes. So if Khalid wants to catch a flight at 5:30, he would have to leave the house. 3 hours and 20 minutes before that. Now, let me see if you guys can do some maths and answer this question over here at the bottom of the slide. What time should this person, i.e. Khalid, start the first step of this process? What time should Khalid start the first step of this process? Let me see if you guys can do some maths and give me the answer. I'll give you 2 minutes. Someone said 2 o'clock. Sister Khushal said 2 o'clock. You're close. Okay. Sister Madiha said 2:10 p.m. Yes? Okay, 2:10. Someone is saying 1:30. Someone is saying 2:10. Someone is saying 1. All right, the correct answer is 2:10 p.m. So thank you, Sister Madiha, and also Abdullah Umar and Muhammad Amir. Thank you. That's the correct answer. So if you take away 3 hours and 20 minutes from 5:30, you get to the time of 2 o'clock, 2:10. 2 o'clock and 10 minutes. 10 minutes past 2 o'clock. All right. All right, thank you. So let's get to the second technique, which is using buffers. What is a buffer? A buffer is the margin of time added into an activity, which accounts for delays that can be anticipated. This is the amount of time you add into an activity to compensate for delays that you think that can happen. How do we add buffers to an activity? Think about what possible delays can come up within this activity and add them to the total time of this activity. For example, let's talk about the pictures mentioned here. If you know that your office is, for example, 20 minutes drive away from your house, and you have an idea of what delays can come up during this traveling time. You know, for example, sometimes there's traffic and that takes an extra 10 minutes. Sometimes the roads have rain on them, they have water on them because of rain, and that takes an extra 10 minutes because of traffic. The elevator in your office building is sometimes busy and full, and that takes an extra 5 minutes. And sometimes the parking spaces near the office building are also full, so you need to spend some extra time finding the parking. So let's look in the next slide how we can add these times into our traveling time. For example, your office commute can include delays such as rain, which will add, for example, 10 minutes. No parking near the office, which means you have to look for parking away from the office, which takes an extra 3 minutes. These are all example times. Some traffic, extra traffic could give you 7 minutes, and the busy elevator in the office, you might need to wait, for example, 2 extra minutes. So this comes to a total of 22 minutes of buffers. So you would add 22 minutes to your commute time. If your office starts at 8 a.m. in the morning and you usually leave your house at 7:40, you should leave 22 minutes before that. For example, 7:18 a.m. So you would have some cushion time to compensate for these delays that could happen possibly. Now, someone may ask, okay, if I go through this task and I don't encounter any delays, what should I do with the time I have? For example, you left your house at 7:22 and you did not find any rain or traffic, or the elevator also wasn't busy and you found a parking just beside your office. What should you do? You should have a useful activity prepared in advance for when you finish this task early. Examples of useful activities can be reading the Quran, for example, listening to an audiobook, exercising, or finishing office work, or any other task that is useful to you. Okay, let's just take a moment of reflection, and I would like to hear from you guys. What new things have you learned so far in this session? All right, sorry, my mic was muted for a minute or two. So we received some answers here as well. Let me also thank these participants. Right, Umar said using buffers to manage time. All right, thank you, Umar. Ghulam said how time management can change perception about personality. Yes, that's very important. Abdullah bin Umair said how I can use buffers to finish an activity without any delays. And Sister Medea said we should give ourselves extra time for possible delays. All right. All right, thank you guys. You guys appear to be very engaged in this workshop, and I thank you very much. All right. Let's get into part 3 of this workshop, and that is guarding your commitments. The palest ink is better than the sharpest memory. This is a Chinese proverb. What this proverb means is that writing is much more dependable than your memory. The faintest writing or the smallest of writings serves as a much better reminder and as a much better record for you than your memory. You cannot depend on your memory to take care of all your tasks. Therefore, writing it down somewhere, which this proverb refers to as ink, will be much more helpful to you. Right, this story was the same story that I was talking about at the beginning of this workshop, about how the coach he took some money from his neighbor, and he returned it to him at a later date, but that date was one day ahead of what he had promised the neighbor. Now, if this coach had known or had written down, for example, in his notebook or in his calendar that, all right, on the 25th of August, for example, I have to return the money back to my neighbor, he would have fulfilled his promise with the neighbor, and he would have kept his trust with him. Why should we note down our commitments? Our memory has not been designed to keep everything permanently stored. This is why we need another system. We need an external system to do that for us. Now, what technique do we use? Using notebooks. Your notebook is the gatekeeper of your tasks. It's like the first entry point. When I talk about notebooks, I am not specifically referring to paper notebooks. It can also be a note app, for example, Google Keep or Samsung Notes or Evernote or any other note app. Some people prefer paper-based notebooks, and some people prefer that they use their phone, notes on their phone. It depends on their convenience. So your notebook is like the gatekeeper of your tasks. It's like the first entry point. So your notebook is used to gather information, to gather, for example, different commitments you've made. And it can also be used to gather ideas that you have. It can also be used to gather interesting facts or quotes. So you can also use your notebook to gather other things instead of just commitments. From your notebook, which is the entry point, the information has to be sent to the different places you record your information, such as your calendar and to-do lists. So the notebook is a gathering place of information, but you should not store it in this notebook because it's usually the system that it stores it in usually has the notes, for example, in not in order, or for example, it has small pages, or for example, you're writing something quickly and you need to flip many pages to find what you're looking for. So it's not dependable as a permanent source of information. So when you write something in your notebook, you should take some time at the end of the day, or for example, at the beginning of the day, to sort the information out into permanent locations. Some rules for using notebooks or note apps: make sure you carry it with you at all times. Do not store important information there permanently, as we have mentioned. If you don't have your notebook or noting system, then don't make commitments. If you go, for example, to a party and you meet this nice gentleman who works, for example, in IT, and he would like to ask your opinion on, for example, data science, and he wants to set a meeting with you, and you don't have your notebook and you also don't have your phone. So the best thing to do is not to make a commitment with him, because you know that you do not have a system to remember this commitment with. So you tell this brother, okay, you can send me a message on my phone when this party is over. When I go home and check my phone, then I will make a commitment with you because my notebook or because my calendar is at home. So this way, we avoid making commitments out of impulse or making commitments and not fulfilling them. Technique number 2 is using calendars. Calendars are similar to notebooks, but they are more permanent and have several useful features. They are useful for time-specific tasks, such as exams, meetings, doctor appointments, and so on. I have put some pictures here of some popular calendars. Google Calendar is a good one, Apple Calendar as well. This is a calendar called My Study Life, which is specifically for students who want to organize their study time. And some useful features of these calendars that a notebook would not have is, for example, alarms and reminders. You can tell your calendar to create an alarm for you or a reminder for you. You can sort out the events in your calendar in different colors. For example, university exams might be in red, your meetings might be in blue, your exercise reminder might be in green, for example. So here there are some useful features of these calendars, and I invite you to explore them as well. All right. Here's some bonus content which I asked the participants for suggestions a few days ago about what they would like to hear in this workshop as well. So someone asked the question, what are the optimal times for us to be productive? The optimal times for us for a person to be productive is first of all, he must discover from himself using or for example, during a certain All right, is my audio and video now clear? All right, good. Okay, let me share my screen with you again. All right, thank you guys for your patience. Let me go back to the previous slide. Okay, so one participant was asking me, what are the optimal times for us to be productive? This was included in the suggestions that the participants were giving me a few days ago when I asked them what other things they would like to hear from this workshop. So a person should look during the day at what point is he the most alert and focused. Some people who sleep early at night find that early morning is best for them to be productive. Some people who sleep late at night find that the morning is not a good time to be productive because they're sleepy. And for example, midday is good for them to be productive. So you'll have to experiment with yourself. At what time during the day are you the most alert, are the most active, are the least sleepy? And that will be your productive time. Another person or a few people were asking, how can you multitask? Now, the human brain can do only a very simple form of multitasking. Let me give you an example. You need to first of all, it can multitask between an exercise that doesn't need attention and an exercise that does need attention. For example, it can multitask if you are having a walk and you're listening to a lecture. It can do that. Or if you are eating and watching a video, it can do that. Because one of these activities does not need attention. Walking does not need attention, and for example, eating does not need attention because it is a very frequent habit that you do. But if you have two tasks that need high attention, it is not possible to multitask between them. What the mind will do is start switching between these two tasks. For example, if you're having a meeting with your colleagues and you're also talking to your wife or you're talking to your friend at the same time, your mind is not designed to process these two things at the same time. So if you try to have a very nice phone call or a very nice meeting at the same time, you will notice that one of these things will be getting affected negatively. Either you're losing focus on the meeting or you're losing focus on the call. So the human mind is not designed to multitask in this way. Yes, it can multitask between things that don't need concentration: walking, eating, running, sitting up and standing, and so on. Computers, on the other hand, can multitask. They have several cores which they can send the tasks into and process multiple tasks on different cores and get the tasks done at the same time. But we humans, we only have one brain. We don't have multiple cores. All right. So let's recap the important points that we have made in this meeting. The importance of managing time, your reputation and credibility depend on it. You should avoid being late by using buffers, estimating time accurately by dividing your tasks into smaller parts, and you should guard your commitments by using notebooks to record important bits of information and using calendars or diaries to record appointments. Some acknowledgements: most of this material has been taken from the Time and Strategic Time Management Workshop and the manual. And this title slide picture, if anyone is interested, you can get it from this link. So, are you interested in improving your time management habits? Are you interested in taking your time management habits to the next level? I would invite you to fill this form and avail a free coaching session in which we will discuss the issues you have with time management, and how we can improve them and improve your life in a general way. Fill out this form and you'll receive a free coaching session. The first step is to fill out this questionnaire. This is the link for the questionnaire. I'll share it in the group as well so you can access it. It only takes a few minutes. The first 5 forms that I receive will receive a confirmed coaching session the next week. By completing this form, you're eligible for a free one-to-one coaching session. In this session, we will look at where you are in different aspects of life. For example, time management, focusing and goal setting, health, studies, and we will look at how to improve that habit and make your life better. We will look at different aspects of life, where you would like to be and why that's important to you. All right, that is the end of this workshop. This is a little introduction about Mumkin. Mumkin is a team of highly qualified coaches, certified from multiple schools, and they provide coaching services to individuals and organizations. All right. So at the end of this workshop, I'd like to ask, what was the most useful for you in this workshop? How to use buffers. All right, the information about buffers. Buffers. It seems buffers is something that many people found useful. Very interesting. 5 people have said that they found buffers useful. All right, that's very nice. Okay. Most useful was task segregation and allocation of time plus buffers. All right. Okay, thank you for your input. I found you guys very engaging. And now we open the question and answer session. If anyone wants to ask a question, you can ask in the chat, or you can also unmute your mic. I'll allow you to do that. If you want to unmute your mic, you'll have to raise your hand so I can see, or you can type it in the chat. Okay, whoever's saying thank you, welcome to everyone. You're welcome. All right, it seems that there are no questions. All right, go ahead. Someone has a question. Okay. We have a question here. It gets increasingly difficult when you are working in a team. For example, traveling with a family. How do we deal with that? I can give you some suggestion on how to deal with this. You can set down a set of rules for your family to work with. For example, you can tell them the schedule of what you want to do. For example, if you're traveling, you can tell them, okay, we want to aim to leave the house by this time. We want to aim to reach the airport by this time. And you also want to make sure that each family member is also taking care of his tasks. What is the difference between time management and task management? Time management is a general topic which includes task management as well. It includes also definitions, it includes the time quadrants. Task management is a more specific part of time management, which is just specific to tasks and how to prioritize them. All right. How do we force ourselves to refrain from constant procrastination? That's an interesting question. I'll have to do some research on that. I did not do a lot of research on it, but having someone to hold you accountable is a good way to avoid procrastination. For example, if you have parents who you discuss your goals with, they can make sure that you get those goals on time. If you have a coach who you work with, your coach will make sure that you do those goals on time. How do we know that we are smart enough to manage our time accordingly? Islam. Can you repeat that question, Sister Afifa? Is setting priorities useful for time management? From someone's iPhone. Yes, definitely. Setting priorities is useful for time management. And I have a session dedicated to prioritization. It was another workshop that I did a few months ago. You can check that out also. Okay. Appreciate it if you suggested a book to read for time management. I'm not exactly sure which book. I have not read a lot of books in time management. Right now, a book doesn't come to mind. Okay. Can you please summarize buffers again? Okay. A buffer is some extra time that you add into an activity to account for possible delays. For example, you have a 20-minute travel to work, and you know that you might have to encounter rain on the roads, you might have to encounter traffic signals, and so on. So you add these extra times into your total traveling time. So you add 10 minutes for the rain, you add 5 minutes for the traffic jams, and so on. So you add that to your time. So instead of making it a 20-minute commute, it'll become a 35-minute commute, and you will have those extra 15 minutes to avoid you being late. Those extra 50 minutes will be there to compensate for those delays. Okay. Uh, Mumtaz is saying you did not mention how to make use of phone and social media during all this time and still maintain time management. Social media is, I think, a deep topic, and we have a limited time here to discuss. I mean, how? Okay, Sister Fifa says, how do we know that we are managing our time rightly according to Allah, or how do we manage our time as companions did, as we should need to follow them? That's quite an interesting question. Um, I can answer, let me tell you, or let me answer this in my humble opinion. You can see you're talking about um, managing our time as the companions did. So if you would like to improve your time management and make it similar to what the companions did with their time, I would like to invite you to read the biographies of the companions and see what they did in their lives and see how they managed their time. You will also learn what priorities they had. For example, many companions prioritized the night prayer, tahajjud. Many of them prioritized seeking knowledge. Many of them prioritized traveling to different cities for seeking knowledge. And many of them prioritized going to early to the mosque. So if you want to learn how the Sahaba managed their time, I would suggest that you read their biography. All right. What other questions we have that we did not address? Okay. All right. I think I've answered the questions in a sufficient way. So we will reach the end of this session. We just have a little question. I joined the digital as a student. If I'm weak in most of the sciences, should I give time to all of them while revising the same day, or do them on different days? As a student, if I'm weak in most of the sciences, should I give time to all of them while revising the same day, or do them on different days? um, uh, you can look at the most effective way of your studying. If you see that allocating certain days for certain subjects is more helpful to you for revising, you can do that. If you think that putting the subjects into the same day and giving each subject some hours is more beneficial for you, you can do that as well. All right. So we will be ending the questions and answer session here. And finally, I would like to thank you all for coming. Jazakallah khair. I hope you found this session beneficial. And inshallah, I look forward to having you guys in future sessions. I will be sharing the link of the form that you can fill out to avail a free coaching session. I will be sharing it on both of the groups, inshallah. Jazakumullah khair. Subhanakallahumma bihamdik. Nashhadu an la ilaha illa anta astaghfiruka wa atubu ilaik. Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullah.